In this problem, what we're going to be looking at is empirical formulas and molecular formulas. An empirical formula is going to be where it's just a ratio between the different atoms that make up that compound. The molecular formula is going to be the exact number of atoms that make up that compound. So a problem reads as such. Styrene is a compound substance used to make styrofoam, cups, and insulation. It's going to contain 92.3% carbon and 7.7% hydrogen. The molar mass of styrene is going to be 104 grams per mole. And it wants us to calculate the empirical formula as well as the molecular formula. So first thing you're going to calculate is you're going to calculate the empirical formula, which is just simply going to be the ratio of atoms in that compound. Next, you have to be given the molar mass in order to find the molecular formula. All right, so we're going to first find the empirical formula, then we find the molecular formula. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to assume a 100-gram sample. So if we assume a 100-gram sample, then what happens is that these percentages turn into grams. So this becomes 92.3 grams of carbon. This becomes 7.7 grams of hydrogen. Once we've done that, we're going to convert it into moles. And we can say that 1 mole of carbon is 12.01 grams of carbon. The units of grams of carbon cancel, and we get 7.685 moles of carbon. We do the same thing with the hydrogen. 1 mole of hydrogen is 1.008 grams of hydrogen. We do that calculation, we get 7.639 moles of hydrogen. Now what we do is we're going to then, for all intents and purposes, we can say that this is going to be 1-to-1, that the numbers are essentially the same. The only reason they vary is it depends upon how accurate you make the mass of the, or how accurate you're going to put into your calculation the molar mass of the substances. So based on this, we see that we, for the most part, are going to have 1 part carbon, 1 part hydrogen. Now this becomes our empirical formula. That becomes our empirical formula. Now the molar mass of that empirical formula is going to be 13 grams per mole. So we found the empirical formula. Now in order to find the molecular formula, we'll take the 104 grams per mole and we'll divide that by 13 grams per mole. Basically what we're trying to do here is we're trying to find out how many times smaller is the empirical formula to that of the molecular formula. We do this calculation, we end up with 8. So what that tells us, it tells us that the empirical formula is 8 times smaller than the molecular formula, or that the molecular formula is 8 times greater than the empirical formula. So if we take our empirical formula, which is CH8, CH, and we multiply that by 8, in essence what we're saying is we have 8 carbons and 8 hydrogens, and we come up with the molar mass of this, it will give us 104 grams per mole. Now this is now the molecular formula. That becomes the molecular formula for styrene. If you have any questions on this, please let me know.